What's good people, it's Kay, and today we're reacting to RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 14. Yep, it's time for the finale. I thought I would be calm heading into this, and here I am now and my heart is absolutely racing. There's so much writing on what happens in this episode, it's insane. I am terrified. That can't be good for the atmosphere. Just saying. But she's coming back together, is she? Ooh.
Winter, do not blame me. I have sacrificed everything.
No, you have sacrificed everyone else. You closed the borders.
Come on.
You squeezed Mantle until it broke.
Everything has led to this. Somehow. This is where we ended up.
Best for Remnant. And no one is grateful.
Jeez. So we're just going to be cutting through all of these different fights. Yeah. We don't like that hand.
Priority 1.
Oh, that's what those two are. They kind of went missing at the end of last episode. Penny, Jesus. You and your death wish. I can't. See that hair flick?
I'm what you want. I want it all.
Yeah. Blake, interfering. Okay, so this was what she chose to do. Come on, Crow.
What happened to Clover? I regret.
Get out of the way!
You're an idiot, Harriet.
Here, please, don't do this. They're still evacuating in Mantle. Why can't you just let me do my job? Because you're our friend, and we won't let you go through with this.
Yep. Yeah, boy. Wait, why did he have a black eye in that shot? Oh, Jesus. Neo is just unbeatable. Oh, okay.
We have to do this for Ye.
Not doing this again. They're all going over, aren't they? No? Oh man. She just lost her weapon.
The autopilot's locked.
Jesus.
We gotta go.
There's no time to make it out of the blast range. They've killed us all.
Kinda.
I'm sorry. Oh, you can't!
I can.
More sacrifice? Jesus, man. God, I don't feel good about that. Come on, Vine, show us what you got. Ah. Wow. What a guy. What a fucking legend.
I hope it was worth it.
Jeez. Is she going to... She's gonna backstab Neo.
You should have never threatened me.
Wow. See, that's crazy.
And you should have never been born.
Oh my fucking god. Yo. This is... Oh, Weiss. This is unbelievable.
Any huntsman that went through that gate, bring him here.
You mean through the vacuo gate? The one-way gate?
She would be the last one standing, letting all her friends die first.
Well, at least now I'm convinced that they're not dead. Jesus. If they're all going over.
Know anything about friends.
Jean. Hello, Jean. Look at Weiss dual wielding. Oh, what's this?
She's back.
Right. So what now? Yo, that action is super cool. It's latched up. Oh no.
Hold on. My semblance.
No. There's not enough time to heal me. She can't get the staff and the power. But there is something you can do.
I don't know where the others are, but Weiss will give us time.
Let me choose this one thing.
She's gonna die. I can't believe this. We went through all of this and she's gonna die. But she's gonna choose. Wow. That's super. Wow, just that is heartbreaking.
Salutations! You made it!
Where... What is this?
I thought of you, and here we are.
Oh, so
Oh, Penny.
Winter's
It
gonna
seemed
get it
fitting
after
that
all.
It should be you. It was your power after all.
No.
Oh, I don't know how I feel
You
about
were always
this.
the real maiden at heart. I was just a machine. Just following orders.
You were my friend.
trusting me with this. When you're gone,
I won't be gone. I'll be part of
Part of you.
good. I'm glad.
So, the destiny I chose for you has arrived.
You chose nothing.
Well,
This was a gift.
this is badass. Oh shit. Oh shit. Is that the end of Ironwood? Bruh. Everyone's losing their weapons.
Where did it go?
There she is. Round 2. Oh shit. Amazing. Quick thinking. Well, what now? They're all fallen. Winter. Winter. Who might that be?
Now.
You are going to pay for everything you've done.
So that's how we're leaving things. Just as the network collapses. Is he gonna make it? No! Oh damn! I wasn't expecting that. So it's all of Team RWBY plus John. Okay. So that's that. Now we reset and we're in Vacuo. Winter Maiden to the rescue. That's the end of the season. Is that it? No? Cut. Okay. Ironwood's still here. Although, who knows for how much longer.
I failed you again, Master. They used the staff to save thousands. Before our allies fell, Neapolitan killed RWBY. And before RWBY and her teammates fell, they used the lamp's final question. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't even stop the maiden from escaping without putting the relics.
Why are
into
you
RWBY.
even bothering to lie?
I'm sorry.
In pursuit of a new world, no cost is too great. You've done well, Cinder. Our work here is done.
I guess maybe Salem doesn't even care if she was lying.
You said they used the staff. I assume you rid the world of their creation. What did you create in its stead?
That is a good
I
question.
merely added more flames to the fires of Atlas.
Oh, wow.
And that's checkmate.
Hmm. Ruby. Oh man. Ay ay ay. What a way to end it. What a way to end it. That was crazy. So in the end, Penny still ended up giving her life. It's interesting the direction they went with this. To have Penny be recreated and then end up passing the power on to Winter anyway, as it was originally intended. It's something I really need to dig into that for sure. Like how, you know, how the season, I guess, combined with last season in that regard. All of Team RWBY fell into the abyss. Jean fell into the abyss. I mean, look at it this way. Because they all fell, I'm confident that they're still alive somewhere. Oh, and Neo fell as well. Neo fell too, yeah. Vine, he was a G in the end, making that sacrifice. I'm still a bit sore at Harriet. Oh, I just caught that line. This is a Penny song. This is not okay. Yep, Salem returned, as we expected. More or less confirms that Watts is dead, which I didn't even, I didn't even process that. It's really bold of them to have had Jean be the one to put Penny, or at least give Penny that mercy. That was an interesting framing of it as well, giving her the chance to choose. Yeah, I mean, that was a total defeat. Salem came to Atlas and she just demolished it. She demolished everything that Atlas had to offer. Like Ironwood had nothing in the end. And that's what he was realizing in his final moments. You know, as he had his hand on that pistol, it was just like he knew he was beaten. That was really cool as well, how it ended with Atlas crashing down of all this wreckage, and then the water just comes and swallows it whole. Something interesting about that choice in particular. I'm not okay with this song right now. I'm really not. Well, I hope we have a post-credits scene. Come on. Ooh. Ooh. What is... Is that like the world tree? What is this? What is that? Intrigue. Okay, so that was a world tree. That was motherfucking Yggdrasil, or at least this show's version of it. Well, isn't that exciting? There is something quite special about seeing a world tree pop up in a story like this. It's so unexpected, but I love it all the same. So RWBY, Weiss, Blake and Yang, as well as Jean and Neo, are all in for some kinda world-breaking shit next season. Maybe. I did say that I might scream if we didn't learn anything about the fates of those who fell into the abyss, but this tiny post-credits stinger with Crescent Rose on a beach and a motherfucking world tree. Say no more, show. This was all I needed. I can go into the hiatus at peace, content, happy. Well, then I think about, I don't know, everything in this episode that came before the credits. You know, the episode itself, and suddenly I'm not feeling as good, but we started with that exciting look-ahead tease to something crazy in the future, so we should really talk about the carnage of this actual finale. It's funny, when you think about the overall roadmap of this series, where we've been and where we could be headed, you look for certain rhythms, certain momentum swings. Seasons 4, 5 and 6 saw our heroes winning mostly everything. I think Cinder's defeat at Haven now looks even more embarrassing now that we've seen her just slam dunk Atlas into the recycle bin, but regardless, after season 6 and going into Atlas, I wondered if this was going to be the arc where Salem really claimed a decisive victory. It made sense not only from the momentum standpoint, but also when you think about what Atlas means to the rest of the world. The defeat of such a powerful and symbolic kingdom would be extra impactful. It would upend the natural order of everything. But still, I didn't see this coming. Atlas had nothing for Salem. Atlas had nothing for Cinder. In the end, looking back through season 7 and back over this season, they completely demolished this all-powerful kingdom and its uber-prepared general, and it wasn't even that difficult. They needed some things to go right here and there, but they largely controlled the play of this entire arc. So respect. Game recognized game. But I will say this, while I did think for the longest time that Atlas would have greatest defeat written all over it, I've also thought that Vacuo is where the heroes are going to strike back. Okay, that's enough. I'll talk about the season as a whole in greater depth when I get around to my season 8 review video. For this review, we'll do our best to stick to the fine details of this finale. And so I think about this episode, about this review, and I think about the review of the previous episode as well. Yang being the only one to fall then really had me going, and that's why that analysis was the way it was, even though I did end up believing that she wasn't dead and that falling into the abyss didn't mean death. But she was still the only one in that episode, so there was no way to be entirely certain. If it's just one of them, then anything is possible. But here, as soon as RWBY and Blake and the others started to fall in such quick succession, it was surprisingly reassuring to see. You know, it allowed me to feel relieved because I knew there was just no way that the show would end these characters so innocuously. Again, one of them, that's possible. All of them, no. Just no. So watching them all fall the way they did told me that it wasn't a dead end, that we were headed to somewhere entirely new. This episode is all about salvage, in a way, trying to rescue and save whatever you can in the face of imminent defeat, doing the little things here and there so as not to be completely shattered in the end. And it was also an episode about a single choice and all the fates that rested upon that choice. So for this analysis, I want to talk about Penny. Not so much her overall character arc, I'll leave that for the full season review, but I want to talk about this culmination of her journey and everything it means. I can't lie, as much as I am heartbroken by her death, I'm also kinda sad that we've come this far for her to die again anyway. But I understand it now, because this episode drives home the truth of her character, the tragedy of her character. This episode just brought it all full circle. I flagged it in my review for episode 5 as well, when she got hit with the virus and fell from Amity. I flagged that her story was a tragic one, but between then and now, with all these other developments and with her being recreated, I had hoped that we wouldn't close the book on her as a tragic figure. I hoped that she had beaten that categorization, but now there's no other way to look at her. Penny is a tragic figure. She is by far the most tragic figure of the entire series. Think about her first life, the way that ended, then everything that transpired in this arc, all the twists and turns. She lived all her lives protecting her friends, protecting the people, willing to put it all on the line for everyone's salvation. Even in this episode, she offered to face Cinder on her own so everyone else could get through the portal. All season she has wanted to make the choices that save as many people as possible at the expense of her own life. And her death, God, that was really upsetting. I understand why it had to be done that way, but that was not easy to watch at all. Although I really appreciated how they contrasted her actual death with that beautiful transfer scene between her and Winter, the salutations, bringing everything back around to the human-machine dynamic between the two of them, and then that line, "I won't be gone, I'll be part of you," just gorgeous. I'm also curious, by the way, about the choice of using Winter's character model from last season as opposed to her current one. There may be something deliberate there that I can't see right now. I feel for Jean as well. To be able to do what Penny asked of him should not be taken lightly. It takes a certain quality that not many possess. I hope that when the time comes for him to tell the rest of Team RWBY about Penny's death, he doesn't beat himself up too much, and I also hope that Team RWBY will recognize that. It's what Penny wanted, after all. One last choice for herself, and one last sacrifice to give Winter and everyone else another chance for what comes next. Everyone's next steps hinged so greatly on what happened with Penny, and okay, you know what this is? Penny is Chloe Price. I'm going to spoil the first Life is Strange game, but that's what this is. The fate of one girl, so cosmically intertwined with the fate of the world and its people. Her friend trying anything and everything to save her from death. And then, of course, the final choice. Penny's attitude this season has always veered towards self-sacrifice because at every turn she's believed that laying down her life will bring things to an end without endangering the lives of everyone. On the other hand, we, and especially RWBY, have been trying to keep Penny alive, doing everything possible to avoid that outcome, despite the fact that striving to avoid Penny's death just makes things more and more complicated. But of course, RWBY and everyone else will always be willing to bear that burden without question or a second thought, such as their love and appreciation for Penny. Of course, it would be impossible for them to just let someone they love give up her life, no matter what good could come of it. But then at the end, it all comes crashing down, the walls come closing in, and there is nothing to stop Penny from making her choice, from carrying out her fate. The story of Max and Chloe in Life is Strange is a bit more intimate. Saving Chloe from death at the beginning of the game is what awakens Max's power of jumping through time, but interfering with Chloe's fate, her destiny, is what sets their world on fire. Throughout the game, Chloe continues to be faced with death, and time again, Max manipulates universal order to undo it and save her. All of Max's manipulation and meddling, all of her efforts to solve the mysteries of their town, all of this saving Chloe over and over again, it all brings the literal storm to their doorstep. And Chloe realizes that it is connected to her fate. She realizes that if she dies, if Max goes back to the beginning and doesn't save her in the first place, then universal order will be restored, the storm won't happen, and everybody in the town will be saved. But of course, Chloe would be gone, and everything we and Max experienced with her throughout the course of the game would become unreality, no more than memories of a faded dream. Because we play as Max, it's left to her to pull the trigger, so to speak, to decide whether to save Chloe or save the town, but the whole idea is Chloe's own, because Max was never going to confront that final choice if Chloe didn't propose it for herself. She makes the choice to close her own story. Again, playing the game, you as Max decide what to do, and if you choose to save Chloe and sacrifice the town, Chloe will go along with that decision, but we get the sense that the guilt and the gravity of it will sit very heavily on her shoulders. There is actually a recent comic series which picks up on the Save Chloe ending, following that storyline and showing us Max and Chloe's journey together after that ending. And that survivor's guilt definitely becomes a large streak of her character. And Max's too, but Chloe being the subject of that decision really makes her question if her own life really was worth that sacrifice. And on the other hand, if Max goes back to the start and lets Chloe die in the bathroom as she was meant to, the town never experiences that catastrophe. Max has the memories of the time she spent with Chloe, but she has to accept that those memories will be enough for her. Again, the similarities here are really astonishing. Not everything is the same, of course. Penny and Chloe have very different personalities. Penny has more ultimate agency in her death, and the theme of her personal choice is more prevalent throughout her story. Chloe's story and her fate revolve much more around her general personality, the evolution of her character. The themes of love and selfishness are more complicated, her dynamic with Max more intimate. The more I look at it, the more I love this comparison between Penny and Chloe. For all I know, I might be the only one who ever makes this comparison between these two great characters, but I love Life is Strange. I've invested a lot of mental energy into it, and I love RWBY, and I've invested a lot of mental energy into that too, the evidence of which is all over this channel. I love being able to recognize parallels like this, being able to take pieces and fragments of all these different texts and stories and characters and just draw them all together. I'll never get tired of it. But that's my comparison, my analysis, and I pay my respects to Penny. That credits song makes me cry now. It's a celebration of all she did in her lives, of all the people she met, of the one person who first called her friend, and everything they've ever done for her. Thinking about that and the way she passed. Oh God. Let's go to the observations. Ironwood still fully believes he's been on the right path. Man's convictions are strong, that's all I'll say. The brief skirmishes inside the void were nice watching. Neo is such a bad matchup for RWBY. Then again, she's a bad matchup for anyone who isn't Raven. Weiss swinging around and kicking her through the portal was a nice touch. Cinder landing and doing that hair flick. Is it wrong to call that iconic? Think I don't really care because I think it's iconic, and Blake made a choice. She realized what was truly at stake and acted on her instincts rather than her emotions. Vine's death was one of the more tragic, I think, because of how it never needed to come to this. I felt for his sacrifice. That was a legendary move. It seems easy to minimize it because he was about as supporting characters get, and also because this moment came so early in the episode, but this sacrifice was important. It saved people, and it should be honored, and it was logical. I think that's what he would have appreciated most. I have a feeling that his death is really going to affect Harriet, because it's not the same as it was with Clover. With Vine, she'll feel directly responsible for it because of her actions this season, and she won't be wrong in that assessment, but I do wonder how much she can grow as a result of this trauma. She did the wrong thing at almost every turn, so it's on her to reflect and not fall any further. And Elm admitted that they all do care for each other, so she won't be alone at least. And Crow, for once, relied on a little bit of good luck. That was nice, seeing that Clover's spirit is still with him in a way. It's a little something he can hold on to, something to believe in. A sign to have a little bit of faith. The order of falling was interesting. I didn't expect Blake and RWBY to fall the way they did, especially RWBY going so early in the episode. Her duel with Neo going so unresolved. It took me watching this episode to realize that RWBY really does have no idea why Neo wants to kill her. I should have realized that sooner, but I think we should file that point away, given that they're going to be together in Yggdrasil with the others. Neo will probably realize that Cinder was playing her the whole time, just using her to get the relics, and I wonder what might come of her animosity towards RWBY. She makes for a very intriguing addition to the Yggdrasil crew. That's for sure. I never knew that I wanted to see Weiss dual wield Myrtenaster and Gamble's Shroud, but that was really cool. And she had the tears in her eyes when she was firing it. Cinder getting in that crack about being a Schnee, bit of unexpected shade right there. The brief fight scene with Weiss, Penny, Jean and Cinder was nicely executed. You know, Cinder throws the swords, she does that cool flip, and then stabs Penny, which... I've already said a ton about Penny's death in her final scene with Winter, let's just leave it there. Winter's last words to Ironwood actually had a lot going on there. You chose nothing. Of course it actually refers to Winter respecting Penny's decision to pass the maiden power down to her, but it could also refer to Winter claiming her own agency, her own legacy, and disavowing the idea that Ironwood had anything to do with her becoming who she has become. It can refer to Ironwood literally choosing nothing, trying to salvage a kingdom which has always been doomed, and become nothing in the end. I said it last episode, but it's crazy that we've come all the way from her fighting Crow back in season 3, being the machine, to where we are now with her. I'll get into that more in a bit. One subtle touch I enjoyed with Cinder, or maybe it's not so subtle, was how she demolished and discarded almost everyone's weapons. She shatters Jorn's sword like it was nothing. It's symbolic of how she's just torn through all of Atlas in these past couple episodes. But yes, with the death of one Winter Maiden comes the ascension of another. Winter became the Winter Maiden after all. It's funny how we end up in these places we do, and given Penny's death and all that they meant to each other, it feels like the right time for her to ascend. It was still surprising, because it's not often that a story takes a red herring and turns it into what it always looked like in the first place, but it feels right for this version of Winter to become the Maiden now. The story needed her to have the development of these 2 seasons, so that she could match the actual strength of the Maiden power with the strength of her own beliefs and personal convictions, and become the hero that all those people in the desert right now desperately need. That couldn't have been her last season. That version of her would not have been able to do this. So I'm excited to see how she takes charge of the situation from this point forward. It was powerful to see her use it to just like beat back Ironwood, and then to see her going toe-to-toe with Cinder. The direction and the score sold the gravity of her ascension so well. And when she came out of the portal flying over everyone else, beating back the Grim and saving everyone, then she sees her family and sheds a tear for Weiss and everyone else she believes to be dead. That was something else. She gave me some real Avenging Angel vibes with that. Once a machine, she strikes now with the fury and grief in her heart, wielding a sword sharpened by her tears and the blood of those she couldn't save. I love this development. We come to Cinder, just lording over everything. I mean, this was Cinder's victory. She engineered this little renaissance for herself in spectacular fashion. And this finale just tied off the story of how she evolved into the force of nature she always had the potential to be. The show needed her to step up as a villain, and in the end she met the challenge and took charge. She cleaned up her messes, tied off her own loose ends. Kicking Neo into the abyss was pretty clearly going to happen once Neo was dangling off the path. The Watts thing though, man, Arthur Watts got done dirty with that. She really gave him the keys to the kingdom, buttered him up with praise, then locked him inside and burned the whole thing down. And she used the Staff of Creation to do it. That's a level of petty that I can't even pretend to be offended by. I am stunned that she took him out in this way. So unexpected. But I give him respect. The man was a master in his field. He dismantled so much of the kingdom before Cinder and Salem destroyed it. He was untouchable, and yet fell into Cinder's trap all the same. I found it interesting that she chose to lie to Salem, and what she chose to lie about. Not that I think the lies will have consequences, because Salem did say that the new world is worth whatever price was paid, and I doubt Salem cares even a little bit about Neo. But the main lie was about the lamp and using the final question, which we know that Salem did care about. But even that, I'm not sure that will make much difference. I mean, using the final question was a big part of how Cinder achieved this victory, though I can see why she wouldn't necessarily want to stick her neck out about it. Everything else she said was more or less true though. It makes sense that she believes the people who fell are dead, and it's true that giving chase to Winter could well have risked the staff and the lamp, especially with the network collapsing, and the possibility of stranding herself in Vacuo, away from Salem's influence. But she lied about the lamp, and I wonder if this is a red herring, or if it will turn out to carry some significance in the future. With Watts and Hazel gone, she becomes a much stronger part of Salem's crew. I mean, it's really just her, Tyrion, and Mercury now. I suppose we'll see whether or not she manages to petty kill those two as well. I do just love the whole final word thing going on here. The episode title broke the rule of the single word titles, but the final word of this season was a single word, which was perfect for it all. Checkmate. Just perfection. Oh, Ironwood. Look, I'll get more into his character arc in the season review, like Penny. But I mean, he had nothing left to give. He lost everything, and he knew it was over too. That bit where he has the gun pointed at Cinder, and then he's just like, it's over. Like, there was no point even trying. All his lofty ambitions and plans, and he died laying on the ground as Atlas crashed down and became one with the earth and the water. Salem didn't even bother to kill him. He was a memorable character, an interesting one. And in a way he represents a lot of what Atlas was and became in the end. You know, if Atlas was destined to be lost to us, then I think it was also written in the stars that he would go with it, stripped of everything, abandoned by everyone, and hopelessly beaten. It's just like the kingdom he treasured and held so fiercely in his grip. They really went out of their way to let you know that Atlas was finished as well. The fire, the crashing down, and then the water just comes through and just buries it all. The greatest kingdom returned completely to the elements. There's something biblical about that. Something mythological. I felt for Crow as well. It's unclear how much of that evacuation plan he knew, but it doesn't really matter. Ruby and Yang are his family, and he has no way of knowing that they even made it out of Atlas before it was destroyed. That's just so soul-crushing. I do have a lot of questions regarding the people who were left behind, Crow, Robin, and the surviving Aesops. What on earth do they do next? Maybe they can go find Maria and Pietro. It irritates me that we left those two on such a cliffhanger, and they've just been entirely out of focus since. Especially Pietro. That's Penny's father we're talking about. Learning about everything that happened to her is just gonna crush him. Maybe Crow and friends can go find them or something. The score playing during the fall of Atlas was interesting. I think that was a synth lead or a guitar with some heavy effects, but it was very unlike anything we've heard in the series before. And it really suited that visual of the water just drowning the kingdom. Again, that credit song, it really is painful. It reminds me of when you'd hear an upbeat, happy song being played at a funeral because the person who passed wants you to celebrate their life and remember the good times, but it just makes you even sadder because it's like there aren't going to be any more good times, and she didn't even get the chance to say goodbye to Ruby, let alone everyone who wasn't Winter and Jaune. I dread the scene next season where Jaune tells them all the truth. I really honestly do. It's going to be just like that Pyrrha statue scene in season 6, and I'm just going to be ruined. And then we end on the stinger. It gives us a kind of permission. It's a stinger that lets us talk about Jaune and Neo and Team RWBY like they're still going to be around, and I appreciate that. It lets us rest with far more certainty than last episode gave us with Yang, that's for damn sure. Again, I'm so excited that this show is going to have its own version of Yggdrasil. One thing I've seen noted is that it's highly likely that this place is somewhere in Remnant. We don't know that for certain, but I've seen people suggest that the broken moon reflects cracks on the surface of the oceans. Think back to Blake on the boat in Volume 4. Again, we don't know for certain. It could very well be a different plane of reality that takes on characteristics of the known world, but it will be fun to learn the truth. In closing, the final word is a heartbreaking, humbling accomplishment for this series. It brings a close to the Atlas arc with damning surety, nailing to us and the heroes of the story a bitter defeat. It is an episode about the ultimate sacrifice, the final choice, and a pain honestly too powerful for these words. Every theme from this season and last season is brought to the fore. So many consequences brought to bear, such significant reckonings dealt out. It is also an episode that reminds us not to bow our heads in surrender just yet, because the power of the ultimate sacrifice, the final choice, is not to be underestimated, because the grief and love which fueled them has given those who survived a chance to fight on, and an unspoken request to not let it all go to waste. And let's not forget the strange new horizons that await some of the fallen. The total destruction of Atlas, the death of a beloved maiden, the loss of another relic, the failures of Ironwood and the rest of our heroes. It all plunges us into the darkest hour, but it's not all over. Isn't it always the darkest before the dawn? That's how I'm feeling. This finale gave me just about everything. It's early days, but I have a good feeling about this being the best season of RWBY. And this is after I thought last season was the best one. But this season was just so ambitious and bold, so creative and climactic, so powerful and ultimately tragic. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Sure, we could go ahead and make it so the next video is the Volume 8 review, but I want to do something a bit different first. Call it Falling Back to the Start, because I'm going to go back through the entire series, from the beginning through Volume 7, and this rewatch series will culminate with the full season review for Volume 8. I had to think about what I wanted to do concerning the first 7 seasons. The funny thing I realized is that I've never actually gone back to the beginning of the series on my own. I've seen countless reactions of others going through the series from the beginning, but I haven't ever actually sat down and done it for myself. Even when new seasons were coming, I've never just gone back and watched the previous seasons unless it came in the form of someone else's reaction. So sure, I can't do a typical reaction to the first 7 seasons, but I think it will be fun to go back and apply everything we've seen and learned to our viewing of those early seasons and beyond. I did say in my last review that I strive for things to be fulfilled and complete, didn't I? It just hasn't felt right to look at my videos and only see Volume 8 there. So I'm excited to bring this project around, in addition to everything else I want to bring to the channel. But this Season 8, it's been such a marathon, hasn't it? But it's also been just so much fun, and I'm really glad that I decided to start this channel talking about a series I love, a series that means so much to my own personal journey. So truly, thanks for watching, thanks for making an awesome season even better, thanks for just a really fun time, and I'll see you in the next one.